Good evening, everyone. Welcome. All right, folks, we're going to get started. For those of you who are new, who do not know me, I am Phil Horney. I am the president of the Bonsai Society currently. So welcome, everyone. Do we have anyone that hasn't been here before? I don't really see any new faces. So anyway, welcome back. It's nice to see you all. I have a few announcements for this month. And I see there's folks in the back that aren't listening. The July workshop with our good friend Adam Lavigne, or Lavigne, I think it's, no? Lavigne, okay, excellent. We'll be doing a workshop this coming Saturday with the same tree that he's doing for the workshop here, which is the water jasmine. There are still 2 spots left, so if you're on the fence about doing it, he's got some really nice material, so I would recommend it. It's $110, and you get to spend the day with Adam, so that's pretty cool just by itself. Not this coming Saturday, but the following Saturday, the 26th, is the next beginners workshop, and we always need volunteers to help for that. We have 5 people signed up for that, and we probably need another 5 folks. So from noon to 4 on the 26th, that's Saturday, if you've got some time, please volunteer for the beginners class. We have a big class of 28 people this time around, so we're going to need some extra helpers. So please sign up on the website if you can. Visit the volunteer page on the website. Also thinking about doing a beginners class because we have so many people that are asking for classes. I have probably 7 or 8 people that weren't able to get signed up for the classes through October, which are sold out. Thinking about doing one on the 1st at Sam Adams Brewery. That's a Friday night, and you get beer. So if you'd like to volunteer for that, let me know. I haven't committed to that yet, but it will only be like a 10-person class. So the last one that we did at the Wooden Cast Brewery was pretty fun. I think everybody had a good time with that. For the August meeting, we were kind of on the fence, weren't sure about what we were going to do for that meeting, but I think we're going to do a program on suiseki. So suiseki is Japanese viewing stones and companion stones. They are used often with bonsai displays with a companion plant and the stone to enhance your display. Also, it's an art form in and of itself, collecting and displaying these stones. So it should be a pretty interesting program. Brendan's going to bring his suiseki, and I have a few as well. And if you also have some, feel free to bring them and show them off to the group. At the end of August, on August 30th, our good friend and longtime member, Dave Redlinski, is pretty much selling off his entire bonsai collection, pots, scrolls, everything he has related to bonsai. And so more information on that will be posted in the newsletter. There was something in this newsletter about it, but more info will be coming out, and I think with some pictures of what he is selling. So that should be pretty interesting. September will be the White Elephant Sale, which is a great time if you're looking for pots, trees, tools, anything related to bonsai. Members bring their unwanted or unused things in to sell, and everybody can come in and look for things and buy things that they think they want and need. We are also going to have a t-shirt design contest. We're going to do a new t-shirt for the club, and so in the next newsletter there will be info on how to submit your creations, and the prize will be a t-shirt with your design on it. Does anybody have anything for me? I think I've covered everything. Steve? Oh, yes. We all saw in the newsletter the passing of our good friend Bob Weiss a couple of weeks ago, and so I think maybe we'll just have a moment of silence to remember Bob. He was a pretty integral part of the society. He had really started doing a lot of things with the club and at the Crone, and he volunteered for pretty much everything. So we're really going to miss him. So we'll just pause for a moment. All right. And now, the moment you've been waiting for, our guest artist is Mr. Adam Lavigne, and he and his lovely wife, Rebecca, who came to make sure that he doesn't get into trouble. They drove all the way from Orlando just to be here tonight to do a demo and the workshop this coming weekend. Adam is pretty well known for his interesting blog, and he does a lot of other art besides bonsai, like painting and sculpture. So please welcome Adam Lavigne.
Hello? Yeah. Yeah.
That was not my hearing aid.
What? Okay, how's that? A little bit? Turn up the bass a little bit and you do Johnny Cash right now. Okay, so I'm back again. How long ago was it the first time I was here?
2016.
I think you still had hair. Of course, I still had more hair back then too, yeah.
I probably didn't have glasses then.
Oh, you didn't have glasses then? Okay.
We worked great then.
Yeah.
We're just less young than we were, that's all.
Yeah, we're more seasoned. Like wine, fine wine. I don't drink wine though, I drink beer, so. Who doesn't know who I am? Because I don't know who I am yet. It's a existential thing. I'm still searching. Ooh, we got a bug.
We got a few new people.
Few new people? Yeah. It's like a millipede or centipede or something.
Sleeping.
Yeah.
No.
Protein. Actually, some millipedes are actually poisonous, and some centipedes are venomous. So, you know the difference. If you eat it and it hurts you, it's poisonous. If it eats you and you die from the bites, it's venomous. So, okay. Yeah, yeah. Hello, people on YouTube. Does it tell you how many people are watching? 0?
At least one.
At least one. So this is a new thing. I remember, who was it, the gentleman who would take the video and make the CDs for everybody? And
Yeah.
Was that Doug or was that Randy?
wasn't Randy or Doug, it was he passed away several, yeah. He sat right there and he'd fall asleep, and that's why he recorded it so he could watch it later. So,
We have some new people that don't know who you are.
oh, I'm Adam from Florida. I do tropical trees mostly from Florida, but I can do everything or anything. If I don't know how to do it, I make it up as I go along. So whatever I say, you should verify. You know, you all should have like a little computer that you can see if what I'm saying is right. What's that?
Instant fact check.
There you go, instant fact check. So we're working on, there's a bug flying around. We're working on a water jasmine, Wrightia religiosa. Just to show that I did a little research, it's named after William Wright. He didn't name it after himself, surprisingly. Someone else named it after him. So Wrightia, there's several Wrightias in the world. It's called religiosa because it is sacred to Buddhists. So if you go into a Buddhist temple in Southeast Asia, usually there's a whole hedge of these in front. We call it a water jasmine. It's a little bit of a, what's the word I'm looking for? Poetic license. It's not a jasmine, a real jasmine, but it is, Smells like a jasmine. So he's waking up. You guys can come see the millipede there. He's walking around. Sorry, guys, on YouTube. And they call it a water jasmine because the flowers hang down like this, and you see them as their reflection in the water. So, and it does like water. This one was literally just dug up like a week ago. So I only saw it in photographs. When I was there, we took off an air layer. So if you want to propagate, the easiest way to propagate is air layer. I remember growing up in bonsai and seeing the first books on water jasmine, and they would take like a trunk like this and take a piece of styrofoam and put a hole in it and stick the trunk in, chop it off and put it and let it float in water. So the best way to do cuttings is in water. And the floating in water is how you can get nice roots come out like that. So you guys will find it like the old Bonsai Focus. What do they call that? What is it? Is it Bonsai Focus now? Or they even publish that? It's Bonsai Today. I think, yeah. What was it before? It was, I don't know. It's too long ago. What is a magazine? International, yeah, it might have been International Bonsai. Anyway, it is a tropical plant. It does have a latex. As you work on it, you'll get that white sap that comes from it. So don't rub your eyeballs after you do this. So if you see me suddenly start crying, it's probably that. Another way that this thing grows, whoever gets this period, wait for next year to put it into a pot, even though it's a big pot for you guys to bring inside. I'm sorry, but you might be able to reduce it. He literally dug a hole like this and shoved it into the pot. So it's pretty solid. It's not like when I collect things, I end up with just roots like this. And so you possibly, I don't know, when does it get cold here?
October, November.
What is today?
Not soon enough, July.
July?
Leaves will fall in October, but we don't get freezing.
Okay.
Well, it's gotta go inside.
It does have to go inside, yeah.
So yeah, so you would move it in probably around November when it started to get cold.
Now it is what is called a drought deciduous tree. So in the native to Southeast Asia, like Vietnam, they have, how many people have seen Forrest Gump? So if you remember Forrest Gump, he goes to Vietnam and he said, and one day it started to rain. So they have dry season and wet season. So in the dry season, this is a deciduous tree in Vietnam. In Florida, we tend to water our trees more, so it doesn't drop leaves at all. But it can drop leaves if you forget to water and that you have a little bit of a leeway when that happens. They're very hard to come by right now. It's bizarre. I did all I could. I actually had to steal from Peter to pay Paul for the workshop, so don't tell anybody. I'm sorry. Sorry, Catherine. I didn't mean to do it. I said that as my wife walks out the door.
That has some amazing lichens. How old are you guys?
It's not that old. No, it's the...
Just Florida lichens.
Yeah, Florida lichens. This is from a nursery called Dragon Tree. There's been many times where I got the trees for the beginner's workshop from Dragon Tree and had them send them up or brought them with me or whatever. Hopefully you guys have a good price on those ones now, because there's no good prices anymore anywhere. But he has a very clean. It's a beautiful place, and there's lichens and molds and all kinds of gunks that grow all over it. So this is probably, they grow fast. Like this is probably 1 year. So you could get a trunk like that in the ground in Florida 3, 4 years, not even. We have a newcomer. The last person in buys the beer. Where are we going? No. Anyway, as far as the beer things, I know the aunt of one of the brewmasters at Rheingeist. So that might be an inn that you can get something, because she does bonsai and you know, trying to remember what their names are.
We're going to have to get in contact with them if
Yeah.
she does bonsai.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Okay, so where do I start on this poor tree? Okay, show me the beginners here. Put your hands up. Okay, what do you guys know about bonsai at all? What is bonsai? Who should I pick on? Give me somebody to pick on. I can pick on Evan. He knows the answer, though.
He's looking at his phone. He's not paying attention.
You said something.
Tree in a pot? Okay, that's the basic definition of bonsai. Anybody else? Can't get any more. We could elaborate on it. And I say this line almost everywhere I go, so those who have heard it, I'm sorry. I apologize. So being a professional bonsai person, I have to have a definition that I can just spout off to anybody. I write a blog. There's almost 600 articles, so I have to almost write that every single time I write a blog because I don't know who's reading it. But bonsai, literally plant in pot or tree in a tray, but is an oil painting pigments on canvas that's stretched over wood. So first there's a subject. The subject is a tree. All right, so we're trying to make a relatively small and a relatively young tree look like a big and an old tree. So the way we do that is using artistic techniques to trick our brain into thinking that something as small like this might be bigger. So I don't know if you guys have looked at photographs of a tree and then seen it in person and it's only this big and you thought it was this big. So that's a person who's done a really good job at making a bonsai. Or you go and you see a picture of a tree and you're like, wow, it's only this big, and you get there and it's this big, and it's like, they didn't quite do the job that they were supposed to do. You need to try to make it look bigger than it is. We use forced perspective. We use the intervals of the branches. Most importantly, though, we use this thing called taper. We want to start with a big base, what some people call nabari. We're about to lose our guy there. What they call a nabari, and it should go to the top of the tree, which they call the top of the tree, or the apex, which is incorrect, but it's the apex. And it should come to a point, and that's where we think of a tree. And almost all of us have in our brain this concept of what a tree is, and it's different for each person. So I'm from Massachusetts originally, so when I see trees, I see them about like that. And that's like a ratio between 1 to about 10 or 11 or so. And that's a ratio that we use in bonsai. Modern bonsai, the base just above the nabari should be, that's your 1. And modern bonsai is you work up to about 6. When I was growing up in bonsai, it was 1 to 8. When some of the other people here, the older people here, might have been like 1 to 10. Natural, it's 1 to 12, 1 to 11, or something like that. Yeah, I'm pointing at Evan when I say the older people here. He's been doing bonsai longer than I have. Why aren't you up here doing this?
Because we get you.
Oh, okay. You have to say that loud enough for the, here, give him the microphone. Anyway, but I say all that. When we deal with trees that have flowers, we need to give the framework that we build a little more space for those flowers to show. So this is a water jasmine. The flowers hang down like this. So the spaces between the branches, we tend to exaggerate them a little bit more than what looks good to our brain. Or we just ignore that and just make it look like a good bonsai. So do we want to show off the flowers, or do we want to just make a nice looking bonsai? Both. Both, jeez. Okay, so we're going to cut it about right here, and there'll be a couple of flowers on the end right there. This is usually where I flourish, but I'm tired. We drove 15 hours to get here. 13? 14, I don't know. I like to take the tool roll and throw it out, and everybody goes, ooh, ah. But mainly I just want this here. So who can we pick on? We'll pick on Brendan back there. What's my first choice in this tree? Well, the front, but how do we get to the front of the tree?
You walk around it.
Or you spin it. Or you spin it. All right, we've been past the front. That's why you drew 13 hours.
Yeah.
I'm relieved.
Okay, we can't see that in the party.
Yeah.
So we're looking for some, maybe some, where we've got some good flare at the bottom, and some good movement from that front perspective.
That's correct. So I
Hopefully
want to play
nothing
with the
straight
rest
to
of that.
catch your eye.
It can be lower if you want.
Yeah, but that's how we pinch our fingers.
I can drop it if you want, a little bit more. It's, you're gonna hold that base.
Yeah. Is this like one of the original
Wherever
ones?
you want.
That's good.
Okay.
And I can raise it up from there. And in case you didn't know, the Mecco stands were originally black. Now they're green, if you can find them. The only person that sells them is Eli Akins from Waldo Street Pottery. Yeah. Oh, I think you can still get it from the guy he's in Pennsylvania.
Superfly's done.
Yeah. Yeah.
It used to be.
Yeah, that was a sad kind of. It's one of those political things that we don't talk about. So
We'll talk about it later.
yeah, we'll talk about it over some beer and stuff. What am I looking for? I didn't bring the chainsaw today. Sorry. I have done carving here before, but not with a chainsaw. So the first thing we're going to look for is what the root base looks like. The noxious weed. I guess they missed it when they did my inspection. I'll make sure I put in the rain tree for the reminiscent farm. What am I doing when I get over there, by the way? What am I doing? Just coming over? Or? Did you say 15? 50.
Yeah, you can pick out whatever you want.
Are these are gifts? You heard that? They're giving me 50 trees.
You can work on it.
It's always negotiable if you want to trade trees for labor. That's all. Got a lot of projects that need to be finished.
Did you see that? That thing just attacked me. Did you have something to say there, Phil?
I will. I'm waiting for everybody to be quiet.
If everybody's interested, Adam has brought a bunch of trees in the back that they have for sale. So if you're interested, check those out. And then also we are raffling this tree off at the end of the evening. And if you'd like raffle tickets, visit Brendan. They are $1 a piece or 6 for $5.
Chair.
I thought you were going for the white shirt. Clean off.
Yeah, it might not have been a good idea to wear a white shirt to one of my demonstrations. Usually, the front seats are the splash zone. If you've been to SeaWorld, Gallagher, there you go. Okay, let's see if I can. So I've exposed the root base, gone down probably about that much. And there it is, hard to see anything. You can see it there? Yep. So there's a root here and a root over here. So that kind of helps me. The movement of the tree goes this way anyway, like that. So I've started a list of rules in bonsai, kind of like NCIS Gibbs rules. So one of his rules, it translates perfectly. It is don't waste good. So if there's something good in your tree, don't waste it, even though it might go against what people think is good bonsai. But there's too many cookie cutter trees out there. We don't need to make the same tree over and over again. So this branch might stay in the design. It's kind of weird, but it might just work. So the front is either going to be here or here. Oop. On this side, if you can see that or not, there is a big scar. How many people like scars? Chicks dig scars. How many people don't like scars? Okay. You like them in the back. It's where the stabs in the back happen. I understand. I see how that is. You better watch out. How long you been married for? She's just been biding her time. Okay, now I need to sit and look. So, sorry. You guys can talk amongst yourselves a little bit if you'd like. So are you the longest running member here at the moment?
Present,
Yeah,
probably, about 1990, I guess.
1990. Yeah, I was still in high school. I like to say things like that to Evan because, you know, he's Evan. So anyway, this here, I just wanted to say this. Propagation, whoever wins this, you cut this off and it'll be its own tree. They grow from root cuttings amazingly. So when you go to put this in a bonsai pot, all those roots you can save and just grow, you know, neat little root cuttings.
How tall do you want the tree?
It's going to be taller than usual, than what I do. Back when I was a youngster, I would always try to get the shortest possible tree. But I've grown more tolerant as I've gotten older.
We'll allow space for the flowers.
Yeah, we need to allow space. But we could do that if we wanted to. Did you buy tickets? Did you buy tickets? So how low do you want me to go?
I wouldn't make it low. I was thinking cut it just before the Y, or where it branches.
Right around there? What about like right there?
Well, that's one way of doing it.
Or here?
That's obvious.
Well, sometimes the obvious thing is the best thing. And there is one
Get all the obvious stuff out of the way.
there is one flower. I'm going to try to save it so that whoever wins it can at least smell what it smells like today.
The one in my backyard has been blooming like crazy. There's two
Yeah.
flowers all over the whole yard. It smells like wild Japanese and tree like that. So those are these very odoriferous flowers.
So they'll survive outside?
Tiny, the size of a dime.
Oh,
Yeah, they,
Come in around the Halloween.
Buffalo violence are tonight, it starts getting a little. Buffalo violence side when it starts getting below 50 degrees at night.
Oh, okay. It kind of depends on what you like.
my poor cinematographer does not like that I'm looking at the other side. This is what I'm looking at over there, people. People in cyberspace. I think we can break a whole bunch of rules on this. What do you think? You feel like rule breaking today?
It's so unlike you, Adam.
It's not much there. Not much there. Okay. To quote a much respected bonsai artist who's from Quebec, bonsai is the art of pooping or getting off the pot. He uses the other words, but he's allowed. He's older than me. He can be intemperate. So it won't hold dead wood if I were to carve this, just too soft a wood. Or I should say it's too hard a wood, and the hardwood rots quicker than softwood. Which doesn't make any sense to anybody unless you're a woodworker. So a maple will rot away quicker than a pine tree. Okay. So there's a big straight section here. So we're going to at least take that piece off. Someone can try to take a cutting there. Keep hitting myself on this. So I like driving my sound people crazy. Is anyone going to Rochester later in the year? You gonna go to the ABS thing or just the Rochester thing? Yeah. Are you gonna go Saturday and Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, I might leave from Sunday.
Well, get there very, very, very early on Saturday. They will close at about 10 o'clock because it'll be so busy. Yeah. Well, tickets don't matter. The fire department says, okay, that's enough people. And you stand outside and wait.
There's no parking either.
Well, there's a good amount of parking.
Yeah, I had a hard time 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's in the back. You go literally around the back, or just park at the what's that Canadian donut place? Tim Hortons. Yeah, you can park there.
That's where I parked last year. I mean, 2 years ago.
2 years ago, yeah.
I need to save up for a couple of years before I can go to those things.
Well, if you buy anything, it's too expensive.
Well, that's always not good.
I worked last time.
Okay, I'm done. No. Just the new people, the jokes don't get any better than that, I'm sorry. One thing on this species is that they heal better than a ficus and faster than a ficus. So you can carve into the trunk and get it to grow back the way you want it. You can take roots and split the trunk and stick into the trunk, and the whole thing will turn into roots. It's just kind of an amazing species. Ouch.
You're gonna wire that down.
Just gonna wire it out of the way, I think. Keeps hitting the microphone and I get dirty looks from Phil. Did I literally pick up all 2.5s? Okay. So for those in the audience in YouTube land, I'm watching in the back as my wife and the treasurer Brendan are talking. So as soon as he gives her the check, I'm going to run out the door. That would be amazing, wouldn't it? So this is not permanent. That's just to get it out of my way. So. And anyone who wants to try cuttings or anything, go ahead and take them. I'm not shy. This could be a whole cascade, whole nother tree. Okay.
So you said it likes water. Does it like around, does it, in a natural setting, is it around like ponds or lakes or something like?
Yeah, I believe it's a lot like a weeping willow. It grows on the shoreline. Yes.
Riparian area.
Yep. Say that again.
Riparian zone.
So that's what that means. Should look up words when I don't know what they mean when I read. Riparian zone. I always like to think, you know, I'm grew up in the 90s, so in the 80s and 90s, so I grew up with Vietnam War era films. So that's what goes through my head when I think about soldiers and stuff. And so I think about, if you imagine you're in the jungles of Vietnam and you're in a firefight and you're running and suddenly you fall into the water and then you smell water jasmine, just overwhelming. And you have the war on the one side and this amazingly, it is almost a religious experience of that smell. Can you imagine just that juxtaposition of those two? And we also get all these other things from Vietnam that are amazing flowers. And there's some in the back there. It's Vietnamese bluebell. The flower literally smells like grape soda. And it just flowers everywhere. So just amazing. There's 3 back there.
Are you looking at what's on your first finger there as maybe a leader?
This one here?
Yeah.
Possibly. Then I lose this whole branch right here.
Okay.
So I'm thinking probably that's going to be the leader there. Yep. I just keep hearing these noises and I'm thinking, what is that, me, or what did I eat for lunch? Subway, yep. So I'm going to do some sculpting here to make these cuts a little more smooth. So feel free to ask questions. Again, I don't know the answer, I'll make it up.
So talk about soil mix for this.
Soil mix. Ugh. Do we want to have a fight or something? I've written a lot about soil mixes. People misunderstand me all the time because I have my specific mix. It's called the Adam Ask Why Red, White, and Blue All-American Super Mix. It's tongue-in-cheek, in case you were curious, because it seems like bonsai artists have to come up with their own mix. So my mix is the one that works best in your backyard. So if I come visit your house, that's what we use, is what you have. I was in Missouri. Missouri is a place that gets ungodly hot and ungodly cold. And so my regular mix does not work there because it just dries out too quickly. In fact, a friend of mine, Derek, said my mix is shit. So
In Missouri.
in Missouri. And I believe in the Ed Trout rule of bonsai masters, that the only time you're really a master is in your own backyard. So what I might tell you to do, or what Joe Blow, who just apprenticed with Kimura, might tell you to do, what someone who lives in California or someone who lives in Massachusetts, what might tell you to do, might not work in your backyard. And I know there's a lot of microclimates here because of the ridges. What do you guys? What are these? How many peaks are there around Cincinnati? Seven hills. So I can imagine on one side of the hill, when the rain doesn't ever get there, it's like a desert, and on the other side it might be raining all the time. And just in my backyard, I have. They just changed my zone. I used to be zone 9AB. Now I'm zone 10AB. Which that means that in some parts of my yard I would get, on a very cold winter morning, I might get ice, but just about that far away, it has never gotten frozen. I think there's a septic system that was abandoned at one point. And that works for, how many people have maples, Japanese maples? How many people have junipers? So would you put the junipers and the maples right next to each other? Why not? You guys seemed so sure just a moment ago, but
I do, because I don't have a lot of space.
there you go, yeah.
I mean, that's the reality.
So how do you adjust the overwhelming heat and sunlight on the Japanese maple?
They get mostly morning stuff, because I'm facing the river, so I get the morning stuff, and then after that I don't get really hot. It doesn't get hot, so
Okay, there you go. So you're in a good spot for that then. So do your junipers suffer? Or they...
No, they don't suffer because they get plenty of moisture, because I've got a watering system when I'm gone. But I think they probably need a little more light. But if I put them up on the 4th floor, they probably get burned up because it's sun all day. And that's where I've got my figs and my Meyer lemon.
Meyer lemon. Do you like bring it in, roll it in and out and stuff like that?
I do in the wintertime.
That's such an amazing thing. I didn't really understand it until I started doing bonsai, and I'm like, wait a minute. There are non-bonsai people who have lemons and oranges that they bring in and out, and
We make limoncello from. So one year I got 100 lemons on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really, which is shocking. So, and it smells much like jasmine when it's,
Yep.
it's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, we have whole lemon groves and orange groves as you drive past them. You don't really want to roll the window down because, you know, it's 100% humidity and 98 degrees. And what's funny is that they're picked in the coldest time of the year for Florida. And that's when they get sweetest, is when they get a little bit of that cold on the fruit.
50 degrees.
28 degrees.
It's cold. It doesn't stay cold for long.
But actually, there was a protein that was found, they put it in, it's called Snowmax. They actually build snowflakes that they use here locally, they use in snowmaking. So they found that protein that designs, that becomes like a snowflake, the structure of it, from the Florida orange grove, because it protect the oranges.
Interesting.
It's called Snowmax, and they put it in here in this region and in other regions to make snow. They put it in the water and then they shoot it up in the air.
You have problem making snow here?
No, they have the world's best snowmakers here. They're actually consultants of the Olympics, consultants to out west. Because we get the cold, but we don't get the moisture. That's
Yeah,
required, and the elevation.
What got you into bonsai?
You talking to him or me?
Not me.
You know, I really hate this question, but so Phil introduced me. I'm an artist. I do drawing, painting. When one buys a house in Florida, you don't have a choice, but you have to have plants there because it's a jungle. So I started doing landscaping, and I made this amazing backyard that it's never going to be done, but if you ever visit, I have the nook, is where I do a lot of the work. I have the collection, and I just created a new place called The Stage. So I'm going to be doing Bonsai Brews and Blues there eventually. So live music at night, and bonsai demonstrations and workshops during the day. And it's a couple of years off, so. Huh? Yeah, that's why he's there. Oh. See, I hate answering the question. You guys have Sam's Clubs here, right?
Yes.
So we went to Sam's Club one time, and they had those little percumbens and Anna junipers. And I said, well, I'll buy one of those. And I did plants. I did mostly succulents before I did bonsai. And I have dirt on my forehead now. And I said, it can't be that hard, you know. And I actually kept the tree alive for probably 3, 4, 5 years. I made cuttings off of it that are still alive, but the original tree died because I did not understand that it had to be repotted. So even a juniper has to be repotted every once in a while. And so I had to figure out what the hell I did wrong. There used to be a magazine called Florida Gardening. They would have a calendar section, and it was the Bonsai Societies of Florida convention in Cocoa Beach. You guys remember? Well, some people remember Cocoa Beach. I Dream of Jeannie. Evan, you like astronauts. More astronauts have come from Ohio than any other state. Tells you something. Maybe they want to leave Ohio. No, sorry, that's a bad joke.
Yeah, so we packed me and the kids in the car and said, let's go to the beach. He's like, but we need to make a stop on the way. 5 hours later.
Yep. Yeah, if you go to one show and you have family, you bring them to Disney and you go to the Bonsai Societies of Florida convention. You've been one time, Evan. Trying to get Brendan to go. He was supposed to come this year, but he didn't. Next year.
I said that last year, though.
You did, yeah.
It'll be true one of these days.
It's a ride with John and Julie. They come the last 2
Yep.
years.
Yeah, they drive and they bring stuff back. This next year it's going to be focusing on Shohin-sized trees. So, and I looked this up. I'm not going to get sued, but the theme of the show is it's a small world. So,
Believe it or not, that's not trademarked.
yeah, it's not. You have to put after all. Yeah, it's Memorial Day weekend.
It's definitely what I do. Best meeting, best show I've been to.
Yeah, and it's a big regional show. You know, I'll get in trouble for saying this, but our demonstrations and workshops are bigger than the national show. We don't have as many trees, but we might have this year because we're going to have smaller trees, so we can count more trees. So it is May. Why are my things not showing up? It's May 23rd, or 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 2026. We're going to have, I'm going to mispronounce his name, Sergio Kwan, from, which way is north? That way's north? So he's from over here somewhere. And then a gentleman, his name is Mike Pistello, he's from California. So we're going to have the East and West coming together to see who wins. It's a 90s rap thing, and you know, no one else knows about the East and West. And, yeah, the Bloods and the Crips. And what was it? Snoop and Dre, was it Snoop and Dre? Who said that? How old are you? Okay, there you go. So you understand.
There's an amazing book that Rob Kempinski helped put together for this year's show. If you want probably one of the most unique bonsai books you can find. It just came out. That's highlighting their convention from this year. It was, I mean, Adam can talk more about that if he desires, but
Yeah, the theme for
page is amazing.
yeah, theme for this year was let's do something different, because you know everybody, you go see the same types of trees and the same types of demonstrations. So there's a gentleman from France, as I kept being corrected by him. He says, "Don't speak French, Adam. You just speak English. I understand you." Not Sergio, Laurent. There's no T, but there is a T at it, so it's Laurent Darieux, or Darieux. Just call him Lore if you ever meet him. He is the creator of a thing called Cosmic Bonsai. And it is a, there's supposed to be 3 books. I don't know if he's ever going to get the 3rd book out, because he has decided to retire from professional bonsai. It's a lot of politics that we're not going to talk about on that. So, but he wanted to be creative, and they didn't allow him to be creative. So, anyway, Rob Kempinski, which you guys had last year. Was it 2 years ago? He gave a talk on display, I believe.
Yes.
And Rob Kempinski has been working and is inspired a lot by a gentleman named Robert Stephen. And he has a new show coming up. It's the Warback Show, and it's all creative displays. So there might be an amazing bonsai. And the last time Robert Stephen did this show was he did an illustration of the Saturday Evening Post with Norman Rockwell painting his he's like looking in a mirror, if you guys are familiar with that, but he's looking at a bonsai tree, and he's painting a bonsai tree, and that was the backdrop for the tree. And So it's a different way of looking at how we show our trees, and it's not necessarily bonsai, but it is bonsai related, and it's a way to get the art world to become interested in bonsai. A lot of artists just don't see bonsai. The definition of art classically is that it should be enduring, whereas a bonsai is not necessarily enduring because it could die. So there's a lot of, even insurance companies won't. It's a food crop. It's something that you can get farmers insurance on bonsai trees, or on the containers, but not necessarily the tree. So if something happens to it, you know, you're SOL. So trying to make bonsai more accessible to the regular artists. And there are people who walked into that and they had emotional breakdowns because something that was in that display reminded them of when they were a kid. And you know, there was one that they used a plastic dump truck as the pot. And there was like there was a Pooh Bear one. There were some people from North Carolina who did one based on Cape Fear. So they built the whole dock as the stand, and they had 3 different trees, and it was, you guys remember the movie Cape Fear with Robert De Niro? And so that was the scroll, was the movie poster and stuff like that. So it's interesting. It's a different way of looking at the art. And a lot of people, when things like that happen, a lot of people were, oh, this isn't bonsai, or they got offended, or this or that, and it's like, you know, we're just trying to have fun. I mean, if it's not interesting to you in your backyard, it doesn't really matter that, you know, they sold a bonsai tree in auction for $1 million last year in Japan. Does it really matter? I know bonsai is, a lot of people have internalized bonsai, and that's what they are. People like Bill Valavanis. He's Mr. Bonsai. That's actually his license plate, Mr. Bonsai, I think. I just put that on the internet. I'm sorry, Bill. And, you know, that's their whole life. And this is a thing that I learned from Evan's wife. Don't discount what people what is the word I'm looking for? What their identity is. You know, I'm a bonsai artist. I'm an artist, but I'm not. I like that fun too. So, and I know that what one person does today may be really popular, but tomorrow it's not. Okay. Now I'm going to do the most controversial thing that I've ever done. Defoliate. Yeah, I'm going to save the one flower. It's right there. See it?
If anyone's interested in that book, it's available on Amazon for like $12. Creative Bonsai Exhibit. The Bonsai Societies of Florida 2025 Art Installation.
And all the proceeds from the purchase of the book actually go back to the Bonsai Society of Florida.
I've dropped some on Facebook, so as soon as all's available, we'll just be posting it. The day it-
More than that now?
22. It might have been 15. I'm not exaggerating, but
I think we paid
Should-
20-something
it's
for
a
it.
thick book.
Yeah, it should be on the BSF website now. Yeah, it might be at that new Amazon place down the road there. So what's the purpose of defoliation? Hmm?
To see it better and then to reduce sleep stuff. Make it easier to water.
Make it easier to wire,
Promote back budding.
promote back budding. That's one that a lot of people don't think about. So what happens when you defoliate is, yeah, say if you're repotting something that might be tender, like a Brazilian rain tree or or a Shimpaku juniper or something like that. You want to cut off all the foliage. Not a juniper. We don't defoliate junipers. Unless it's a Hollywood juniper. I've done that before and it started to grow again. The Shimpaku? Oh, the Hollywood? Does it survives up here in the cold? Yeah. Oh, really? Okay. That's interesting. It's one of the best ones for Florida. They actually grow as trees, like, 15 feet tall trees. Yeah. But yeah, the Hollywood juniper for you guys, it's called Juniperus chinensis torulusa. So sometimes it's the twisted juniper, the Hollywood, or it's another name. Like it kind of grows like a flame. It does this kind of thing. They do up, yeah, I don't really see it down. Yeah, that's weird. I wonder where in China they were, or if they were just developed in Hollywood. Okay, I'm not going to totally defoliate because how much time do I have?
1 hour.
1 hour. What am I going to do for an hour?
So would the person who gets it complete the defoliation, or do you suggest partial because it was just dug up?
Just partial. There's not going to be much left on it anyway because, I'm probably going to cut here. But you're hoping to win it, are you? In case you're curious, I tripped and fell and hurt myself. So
So will that backbone on that heartwood?
yes, yeah. Man, you have like 30-year-old wire from Korea. You have American bonsai wire that they don't even make this anymore. Most of it's black. I think last time I was here, you still had some Japanese wire too.
It's copper, definitely.
Yeah, it's hard to find good wire, good copper wire now. The two people who made it, Jim Gremmel and Julian Adams, they got too old and like, okay, we're done. All you need is a kiln and a place to buy the copper, but you can get it from the American Copper Company out of Alaska. And you need some money to do that too, so. That's not 5.0, is it? I guess it is.
I measured them all with my calipers.
American Bonsai has like a thing that they made out of,
Picture,
yeah. you'd think I would have one, but he said, do you want one? I said, I don't really look at what the number is. I just see if it fits on the branch. And I was born in the 70s, so I never really had to learn the metric system at all. I used to get cards from Jimmy Carter saying, why in the hell didn't you learn, Adam? No, I didn't do that, no. It was Jimmy, or was it Nixon that made that law?
Not sure. I'm pretty sure it was Carter.
Yeah. But they didn't enforce it, is the thing.
No.
And then we had, what was that one Mars rover that crashed because they didn't do they went from inches to millimeters, and it was like, oh, okay, yeah, we just hit the surface.
Same with the Hubble telescope.
Yep, that's right. Oh, I remember that. That went up when I was a kid, and it was like, yeah, it's awesome, and we can't see anything.
Didn't do the conversion correct.
Could do a cosmic style with this. Nobody?
Let's get crazy.
So the cosmic style is, there are specific rules and ideas to it. It is a Frenchman who invented it, so.
That's the galactic.
Good galactic, yeah. So the concept is that imagine a tree that did not grow up on Earth. So maybe there might be two suns, so a tree's not going to grow towards the sun one way, it might grow both ways. Or it's a 24-hour cycle of, there's always sun, or there's only sun, 2 hours a day, and so kind of go from there. But it's more of a study in line, and this is where the artistic part comes in. When we have art, and we learn art, we learn about color, texture, pattern, but mostly, you think about drawing, or you have line. And what do we have on trees that have a lot of line is branches. So we really exaggerate the branches, and that is what's drawing your eye to the design. An interesting thing is that Laurent has a student who never learned classical bonsai. He only learned cosmic bonsai. And he says, my student is better at doing it than I am now. And that's an amazing kind of thing. But you really have to read the book to understand it. Most people dismiss it because it's not, classical bonsai, or even naturalistic, or any of the other types of concepts of bonsai. That's what I keep hearing. There's a speaker there. I think someone's trying to break into the window. Yeah. But this would really lend itself to cosmic bonsai because it's very flexible. And a lot of the cosmic bonsai movement is, kind of corkscrew. There's a technique, an exercise in your figure drawing class where you're not allowed to take your pen or pencil off the paper. So you kind of keep going back and forth and back and forth. And I think I mentioned that to Laurent, and he said, yes, you understand.
With the material for the workshop, it's got a good bit of growth. Would cosmic bonsai be a potential starter for any of those trees?
Yeah, actually. Not that I'm an expert in it, but I can fake it.
Thank you for your make.
Buy the books and read them before Saturday.
Yeah.
When they practice.
Well, no, they come from France. You're not going to get them before Saturday. I almost brought them with me, but
Kindle this edition.
no, this. He doesn't know how to do technology, so there's no Kindle edition. Yeah, although that's going down soon. Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, I don't want to discuss the politics in that because sometimes that's not the best thing to do in a bonsai demonstration.
It's neat if you're from the eighties, because they use transformers a lot of times as the display items. like
Yes.
robots or other things.
Yep.
As the kind of the small display items to go with it. Or something more modern.
Yeah, the Transformers or GoBot or Gundam or something like that. And the concepts are interesting, the themes of the display. And that's an interesting thing for those of you who go to displays. The whole concept of displaying a bonsai is not, it's bonsai adjacent. The whole art of display is about 100 years old in Japan. So that's not a long time. And in fact, most of the bonsai professionals, the places, they hire somebody to put their displays together for like the Kokufu 10 or something like that. Probably one of the best is also a bonsai master, Kunio Kobayashi. He's a master. In Japan, you become a master through the organizations there. It's not just, you don't just call yourself a master. You actually have to be graduated by your teacher and said you are now eligible to teach bonsai and to have a nursery and all that kind of stuff. Well, it's the same with the art of display, and the only bonsai master I know of at the moment is Kobayashi. And he taught a really nice man from England, Peter Warren, who wrote a book called, I think it's just called Bonsai, and it was several years ago. Probably one of the better books on bonsai. But as British people tend to do, he's kind of gone into obscurity, and not obscurity, he's gone into, what is the word? He's become a hermit. Yeah, in hiding, there you go. I do that all the time, sorry. So whose is this first demonstration for them? Anybody? Is your first demonstration? Gee, I'm sorry.
After we're done with the warm up.
Yeah. Giving you your money back?
It's free.
Ah. So you paid him to be here, is right? Oop.
Yeah, well, we heard that.
Just a little crack. It didn't break.
Don't crack twice.
Yep.
Anybody's first meeting?
Yeah, right, yeah, you walked in. He's the guy who's buying the beer. What's your name? Say it again. Spell it for me. What brings you here, besides?
I just moved to Cincinnati, so.
Okay.
Check it out.
This is probably one of the better clubs
Yeah.
in Cincinnati.
One of the better bonsai clubs.
Yeah. Actually, one of the bigger clubs in the country, actually. Yeah, a lot of clubs have maybe 10 or 15 people in them. Or in Florida, we have, how many clubs? 30 clubs?
Like 24, 25.
25 clubs. So there's a lot of smaller clubs and study groups and stuff like that. But we have the Bonsai Societies of Florida, which has 900 people in it, and it's a collection of the clubs. And they got together back in the 70s so that they could bring the World Bonsai Convention to Orlando. And they were successful, and it's come back a couple years now. But most of the rest of the country just doesn't have an organization like that that really promotes bonsai. So like I'm working in Missouri right now, trying to. I go in there and I do work, and it's like, okay, so you know that the front of the tree and the back of the tree, and people are like, what is that? So you have to kind of explain things that most people in my clubs understand already.
We're in Missouri.
Springfield. Yeah, put on your calendars next year. Well, I can't. In June sometime next year, we're putting together a show. We're going to try to make it one of the bigger shows in the country. Springfield. You know where Bass Pro Shops is? That's what we're looking at.
There was one in St. Louis, wasn't there?
Yeah, but it didn't really make much money, and I'm not sure if they're ever going to do it again. So hopefully they would, but so we're having Guy Guidry as one of the headliners, having a gentleman from Argentina, Sergio Luciani, Ed Trout. We're working on a couple of other people. I need to make some phone calls. But they have the original Bass Pro Shops was there, and it's like a little Disney World.
Like the pyramid shape?
Yeah, something like that. I don't know, but they have a what do they have? They have a big. It's the best aquarium for the last like 5 years. Even compared to like New England Aquarium or the aquarium in Atlanta or anything like that, or even the SeaWorld aquariums. In the 1 year they didn't win is because they were renovating it. So that gives you an idea. This is where people start taking breaks and getting some caffeine back there.
Do we need to sell raffle tickets
Getting
yet?
some raffle tickets, looking at some trees.
So the way you win the raffle is you buy some and you put them in, and you wait a little bit, then you buy some more and you put them in, and you wait a minute and then you buy some more and then you put them in.
That way they're distributed evenly throughout the stack.
Yep. Or you just do what I do, you buy one ticket. There was one time, it wasn't here, I bought one ticket, and I won the tree, and I'm like, uh-oh. It was my own tree, it's like, and it, I did a crap job on it, so I didn't really want it, but,
Well, it takes one though. One ticket.
Come on, there has to be a beginning and an end to this somewhere. This is the most boring part.
Maybe I missed it, but did you discuss for whoever wins it or people for the workshop, the overwintering care for water jasmine?
Not yet. I don't know the overwintering care for water jasmine. And, yeah. So Brendan, so whoever wins this tree, so how do you take care of it in the wintertime?
Don't keep it outside.
That's probably a good thing, yeah. Tropical tree.
Yeah, yeah.
Does it drop leaves for you?
I think so. Winter sometimes can be a fog.
Get some grow lights.
Do they go dormant? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is this is probably a medium-sized one. They have a dwarf one that the leaves are this big. Yeah, and those are the most sensitive to cold. In Orlando, I had one, it totally dropped leaves, and it was not a cold winter. But they come right back. You might lose a couple of branches, kind of like a deciduous tree, you still lose branches. Yeah. It'll probably flower again because I'm taking all the leaves off and stuff like that. That's one way to force flowering on some things. You stress it enough to say, hey, I need to reproduce.
Yeah, and I completely defoliated mine maybe 6 weeks ago, give or take, and it's responded really well, and maybe has 100 flowers on it right now, it's just full of flowers.
Yeah, one of the worst things you can do is to put a load of flowering trees in the back of your car and overnight, and you get there in the morning and you're like, oh no, because it's very heady. It's strong. Who has one besides Brendan? That's it.
If not, you can sign up for the workshop on Saturday.
2 seats left.
How many people do we have total? 10 people or?
Yeah, we had for 10 people, and there's 2 seats left.
So 8 so far.
Sorry, that's a man thing. You have to. Yep. Make some of my students nervous when I do that. They say, "Hey, Adam, come look at my tree." So I go like this.
No, put those down. That's what we did. No, put those down. We're just
If you can't see on my tools, oh, on that one, that's weird. Okay. On my tools, I have a big chainsaw. Because in my younger days, I like to take tall trees and make them tiny, short trees. Sometimes I do what the audience wants, sometimes I don't.
So how long do you leave the wire on
Didn't you ask that question the last time I was here?
Yep.
What did I say?
this? Until it's too late.
Yeah.
At least you know.
Yeah. So it's not making a joke, so I paid him to ask that question, but no. Yeah.
Well, the other people that bought raffle tickets might have something to say about that.
I'm just kidding.
I know.
I don't know how fast this will grow here at this particular moment. Yeah. So probably within a month, maybe. unless suddenly it stops raining or something like that.
Stops raining in August.
Well, there you go.
Then you have to water it every day.
Yeah. Yeah, if you forget to water it,
Do you set these in water like a wisteria or something like that?
yeah. Yeah, that's what I did. Had one that was really stressed from the person I got it from, and I just set it in water, and it will use the fertilizer up pretty quickly. Oh, fertilizer is a good thing to talk about. What do you use, Brendan?
Something a bit more acidic because of the flower.
Yep. So keep that. If it flowers a lot, more acid in general. So what do you, what specific, you don't have sponsors that we have to,
Yeah, I mean, I've got a few different fertilizer. Honestly, I don't even know the name of what I just bought, and been using a little bit this year and trying.
so here,
Sorry.
who asked about blueberries? Blueberry fertilizer is, you need to have something that's severely acidic. Like, if you don't drink your margarita, you pour the rest of it. No. So most plants they like to be just slightly acidic. Some flowering plants, you're like 5 or 6 or whatever. Blueberries are like they want to be 1 and 2. So that's your pH. So the more acidic is the smaller the number. 7 is neutral. Azalea should be more, 6, 5, something like that. Now, if you live in a place that has really, really basic water, really, you need to add even more to it to counteract that. So some places in South Florida, when it's not raining out, they literally, I have a guy who takes a lemon and squeezes it into a gallon of water and pours it into the plant in order to keep it just a regular plant, not something that's really acidic. But these, one of my tongue-in-cheek answers is when they ask me about fertilizer, and I say yes. What kind of fertilizer do you need to use with this? Well, yes. Oftentimes, just fertilizing it with something is better than nothing. And most people don't fertilize until they get into trouble, and they're like, oh, what do I need to use? And then they automatically think that that's the best fertilizer to use for that particular plant. So like in bonsai, it's usually something like BioGold or Green Dream or something like that. And those are very good fertilizers, but nitrogen is nitrogen. And if you're looking at fertilizing something, just give it nitrogen. For a flowering plant, it's very interesting if you read the current thinking on the subject. It used to be you had NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, and then potassium, right? And those were the macronutrients, and all the scientists agreed that that was what you needed. And now they're figuring out, because of the instruments that we use to measure these things have gotten better and better. They've learned that plants actually can create their own phosphorus when they need it. So if you notice, a lot of fertilizers are coming with less and less of that middle number. And in Florida, we actually grow phosphorus for the rest of the world, so we grow it, we mine it. So a lot of our fertilizers don't even have it's a zero number. And what they're learning more is that it's potassium that flowering plants need more. And they discovered this first with bougainvilleas. There's a fertilizer called Bogain. It was created by the Bougainvillea Growers Association or International or whatever it is. And they made bogeys for the whole world, for the whole United States. And they said, well, we need to learn how to fertilize these. So they did all the research and they figured out that it's actually potassium that flowering plants need more of. And I can show you, I can't show you on this, but when you have brown tips, that's usually a potassium deficiency, which there aren't really any brown tips on this here, but that's what, brown tips, it could be because it, dried out a couple times, but usually it's potassium. Ow. Who did that? Now this tree likes to grow alternate, so sometimes it's difficult choosing which branches. So alternate means the branches grow directly opposite alternate. Did I say alternate? Opposite each other. So it'll grow a hand. And it's really ugly when you do this. That's not really good bonsai. So you have to catch that in advance before you end up like that. Who has trident maples? It does the same exact thing. You might get 4 or 5 or 6 from one point. And if you don't bring it down to 2 with good tapering, it looks like you're playing catch up. What is that noise? So the top, we're going to have to use our imagination because there's not much on the top, but it'll grow. Which one was the one that broke, that cracked? Was it this one? There's that one. Yeah, there was that one. Yeah, get that lower. Did I give you a heart attack? Have you been to Weigert's? Is that where you got the shirt?
I was just there,
Oh, really?
last month.
You made it home?
I did. With no trees.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Did you get pots or anything, or?
Nope.
So what'd you go for? Just to look at the tree?
Just hanging out,
Yeah.
chatting.
Did you actually get to talk to Eric?
No.
Yeah, it's hard to find him.
Me
He
and Andrea were hiding out.
Yep.
You're up at the house, so.
Yeah.
But they're having a big sale, so.
Yeah, last month they were doing ficus trees that were this big
Yeah.
for $500. Yeah. Fortunately, I don't have any more room for big trees like that.
Yeah, I don't have any room, that's why I didn't buy it.
Yeah. don't usually do this. When I wire, I like to go from branch to branch. And I'm not going to get a good anchor on either of these, so I need to do my anchor down here first. And then go up this one. Go from this one to that one. Which I might go down. So for the beginners, wiring is not something that can be taught in a demonstration. It actually takes you several years to really understand it, to feel it. I would suggest, and you write this down, there's a free wiring class by a guy named Colin Lewis. COLINLEWIS. He's one of those grumpy Englishmen, and he's moved to, I think he lives in New England somewhere. He's a hermit, curmudgeon. But when I started bonsai, he had the most books that were ever written on bonsai published at the time. But if you look up on Google, free wiring class Colin Lewis, and he actually describes the concept of making anchors and going from branch to branch instead of doing what I did here, using the trunk. But I did that because if I had just anchored these two, when I moved the one, it would rock. So I put a good anchor on that one and then anchored this one onto that. So now I can bend this and bend that without really messing up the two.
Colin's book is how I got into bonsai. My brother gave me one of his books.
Yeah, I remember.
And I sought out his club.
Yeah, he's a good guy too. If you ever get to meet him, he'll be at the national. He gives away the All-American award, which there's some irony him being British. But the All-American award is an American species, in American container, an American pot, on an American stand with American accents. Or I'm sorry, companions. They're not called accents; they're called companions. Because in display, it's not bonsai, it's a whole art form in itself. Comes from the Chinese concept, the Japanese concept of the tokonoma, where you walk in the house and instead of having a mudroom, they have that, and you take your thing and you look at it, and it's supposed to be indicative of something that's happening, like, say, like if you have a sculpture of what do we want to, a deer, and say it's a male deer, and it is springtime, so are there any hunters here? Male deers don't have horns in the springtime, so if it's a male deer, which you know how you tell sculpture of a male deer and a female deer, it costs $1 more. Sorry. But if you're let's say it's April and you're showing deer, and you have a whole bunch of them, they should not have any horns. So it's a really complicated concept. It's seasonal. If you have a scroll, the scroll should say, like, it's a winter silhouette show, right? So you better make sure the moon is a winter moon, or the trees that are on the scroll are leafless, and that's really how you do display. And most people just kind of, it's something Japanese, let's put it all together. And Are they making something in the back there?
Noise.
I get the noise of pots and the metal bowls and stuff like that, so you really want to
Did I lose it? I hope I didn't lose it. Ah, I think I lost the flower. I'm sorry.
I want a discount.
Yeah, talk to Brendan about that. So here's a funny thing. It's a guy who does a raffle, and he sells a whole bunch of raffle tickets for a horse. Unfortunately, the horse is dead. But people don't know that. They buy the tickets and because they know the horse and they've seen the horse before, but buy the tickets and the farmer makes all this money on these on his horse that's dead, and the guy that wins, they give him his money back for $1. I think about that often when I do demonstrations and they're raffling the tree off. The bagworm. You guys know what bagworms are? It's one of my favorite things to kill. I like to squash them. Okay. Huh?
Provide natural defoliation for your tree.
Branch selection sometimes. Some of them they just eat all the way around. So a bagworm is a moth and it lays an egg on it and it becomes, I guess it becomes a moth. So and it kind of hangs down, and if it's alive it kind of wiggles and stuff. And I swear to you, there's nothing more satisfying than taking it and squeezing it, and if it pops it's like yes. If not, it's like damn it. But it can actually eat around the circumference of the branch and kill the whole branch on the far side. What time is it?
Quarter till.
I want to cut it off. If this were in Florida, I would have dug it up already and put in another pot. And how can they both? Oh, that's 2 point. That's not 2.0. Is it raining? I brought that with me. I'm sorry. That means I need to slow down and wait for the rain to end before I finish. That means I have to talk to people after I'm done with this. That's it. Okay, so wake up everybody who's sleeping because we're just about done. What's that? Well, this is full of Florida sunshine, so it's going to be. Can ask Brendan better, but say probably within the middle of August or so. What is the date today anyway? Is it the, so it might be by the beginning, yeah, a couple weeks. Yeah. Depends on how healthy the tree is, really. Even people say, you know, when you work on a juniper, you should only take off 10, 15, whatever percent. You can take off almost all of it if it's healthy and growing. So there's no real, there's very, very few rules of thumb in bonsai, except for that there's no rules of thumb. So it just depends. If you were to ask me a question, say like you posted on my Facebook page, Adam, what am I supposed to do with this? You know, what should I do to this? So the first thing I'm going to say is, where do you live? And say, and how's the rain? What's it potted in? How long has it been in bonsai pot, or is it still in soil, or this and that? And I have to ask you 10 questions before I can even answer a question. So if you see people who answer questions right off the cuff on Facebook, it's like they just want to be heard instead of they want to give good advice. So it's a difficult thing to really say, leave this much. I could take everything off of this and it'll come back. It's a imperative for the tree itself to have leaves. People think that when we fertilize trees, we're feeding them, but we're not. The tree feeds itself through sunshine. Yeah, photosynthesis. So if you want to think of it like a computer program, it says you must do this. And we know this, that trees have to grow specific ways, because if the tree has no energy left and we keep cutting it and cutting it, it'll just grow itself until it can't grow anymore and it dies, and that's how it dies. So that's the thing you look for first. How healthy is the tree, and so what can I do to it, or what can't I do to it at that particular time? This is a tree from Florida that's been grown in the ground, so this is the strongest this tree is going to be for a long time. So I can do a lot to it and beat it up, and like I said, I could cut here, I could cut just above the root and it would grow from there. I don't want to do that because this is a very yeah, I mean this here, in order to start over again, it's going to take another 10, 15 years to get that. So this, you guys got a good deal from Dragon Tree on the plant itself. I'm like, yes, that'll work. So, but yeah, it's hard to say how much you have to leave. Now, I can leave specific things to make them do specific actions. Like, I'm not going to cut the tip of this. I can cut everything else off, and I can even cut the leaves on the tip, but I'm going to leave that bud intact because it's easier for this tree to grow taller, because the hormones are saying, let's put all the energy here and grow taller. And that hormone is called auxin, A-U-X-I-N. As soon as I cut that and remove the auxin, all the energy is going to go to back budding. Its cytokinin is a hormone that becomes dominant when you remove auxin, so it'll make it grow side branches first before it starts growing again this way. So if we're in an initial styling of a tree and we have a branch that is like this, see, I'm not cutting that, because whoever wins this, you want this to get bigger, so I'm not going to cut the tip. And to make a branch or to make a tree bigger, you let it grow longer. So this here will cause that to grow 15 feet by the end of summer, and then cut it here when you bring it inside, and then next year you dig it up off the tree and you have a whole nother tree. So, I don't know if I answered your question or not, but. And if you don't, where did Sue go? If you don't like the lichen on the tree, you can just brush it off, yeah. Some people just don't think it should be on bonsai trees. And I think it makes them look older.
I share your thoughts. It makes it look older.
Yep. So I'm not going to cut the tip on this one, so whoever wins it, leave this one alone and leave this one alone and let them grow. And then probably mid-August, just kind of cut it like here somewhere. And right there, and then it'll bush back up. So August, September, October, you say? So the angle that this is going to be at right now, it's leaning back in the pot, and that's a good lesson to learn. Don't ever think that the way the tree is sitting in the pot is the way that it should be eventually. So you come up and take a look at it. Whoever pots it should be potted like that. So that this is leaning towards you. And that's one of those tricks that I talked about, is a big tree. If you can imagine in your head, you're walking up in a forest and you walk up to a tall tree. You're looking at it like this. You see the big old root base, which is not really all that big but you're looking down at it, it's like this. And you look up and the tree comes to a point, so we have the taper from here to here. But also the tree feels as though it's looming over the top of you. So when we pot our trees, we should have them lean forward just a little bit in the pot. And when people look at it, it makes that tree look bigger than it is. It's just a trick. It's forced perspective. So that's it there. The front's around here somewhere. I'll mark it if you'd like. But I gave space between the branches so that we can have the flowers come down, and it's wider than it should be in bonsai views because we want to have a big structure to hold those flowers. And it has good movement, good branching. I broke some rules on purpose. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those branches coming from one point in the back. Right about there is the front. So whoever wins this, go home, fertilize it, because it was not fertilized when it was dug up. Just citrus fertilizer works really well. It has a lot of potassium in that. If you can find the Bogaine, that works well, or just anything for blooming. They've changed, like I said, they're changing the formulation so it's more potassium and a little bit less phosphorus. So that's it.
Any last minute tickets, or does anybody want to see